Greetings, everyone. Rev.Hawksblood here, calling from the big island of Hawaii. Just trying to refocus my screen. Sorry, I got a little messed up here again. All right, that should take care of it. All right, now we've got a lot to get into. I hope you feel today is an important day. If not, you might not even want to listen to this show. To me, and after becoming aware of many things, basically all my lifetime is back to Atlantis, to now, and all my lives in between. What's really going on, what happened, why people say what's really going on, and things like that. Well, too many people have no clue. They don't know what really went down. And sadly, most people believe what they read. All right, that being said, just because it's an old writing doesn't mean it's real either. So I usually do a lot on UFOs and ETs and everything else, but today's the day before the big day, to me, the most important day in the history of this planet. I'm going to have to try to close my door because my dog is going crazy. But now, I don't know if you understand the truth or you believe everything in the Bible and you accept that, or you don't believe in it at all. Was Jesus real? Was Jesus an alien? Was Jesus a made-up story? Well, all I can give you is my truth, what I experienced in all my lifetimes, and everything in between that. All right, let's start with the birth of Jesus. All right, was it real? Well, if it did happen, which it did, it happened about 2,023 years ago. Rough. Nobody knows the exact date, time, and everything else, which they try to say they do. But during that time frame, it's not the manger with the cows and sheep and all the people around, 3 wise men standing there. They were born in a cave. And just so you know, which you might not want to know, Jesus did marry Mary Magdalene. And he had a daughter. And that daughter was born in a cave also. They were born so that nobody could find them, see them, or know anything about them when they were born. But I'm going to get into that as we move along, a little more detail about different things. But Mary had other children, okay? When was she a virgin? And to this day, can they prove anybody to be a virgin or not and have a child? Well, there was a show on TV about young women pregnant, not knowing how they became pregnant. I'll tell you this, 90% was probably while they were sleeping, all right? And then maybe the other percentage was on drugs, drunk, or whatever. But in those days, women were slaves, people. They did anything that their husband made them do, which is just about everything. And they were victims to being abused. And it was accepted for thousands and thousands of years since the beginning of the end of our time frame, which means the end of Atlantis. It was the only time that planet Earth was actually the Garden of Eden and was destroyed. And then it became a warring planet, meaning aliens programmed people to kill, eat animals, and all that went down. But going to the first religion was Hinduism. And they were working with deities. And during that whole time frame, which existed till now, was sexual. Almost 89, 90% is based on sexuality. Kama Sutra and all the words that they use to create it and deal with it. Kundalini and all those things they put together. But had nothing to do with a real God. Deities were called gods because at that time frame, words were limited. And there was no real understanding of what a real God could be or should be. They accepted anything with power as a god. Deities, demons, aliens were all accepted. If they proved any kind of power, they were called a god. Oh, for a word. They weren't called gods because they didn't use the word God. All right. Uh, Deities was the number one first word used. All right. Now, getting back to Mary Magdalene, she was the closest to Jesus as far as a woman goes. But we talk about Mary, the mother of Jesus, was very, very unpopular. She wasn't like the fame and credited abilities and everything else that they give her in church today. Uh, she did nothing else but give birth to a child. Nothing else but give birth to a child. That child stayed a child for many years. All right. Today, nobody can prove it. Nobody can disprove it. But there's many other stories about the virgin child being born and things like that. It's man creating images in people's minds, and it's called programming. All right. Jesus never, ever said he was God. First off, let's get that out of the way. All right. One sentence in the Bible says something. I'm not going to say it right now, but he never said it, ever. And what I'm going to say, which will make most of you people leave and not even want to listen to anymore. I'm aware of all my past lives back to Atlantis. Out of hundreds, there was only 3 important lives I had. The first one in Atlantis, second one when Jesus was alive, and the present one I'm in right now. All the other ones, I learned nothing about a real God. Nothing about, outside of those lives, I didn't learn much. I became a priest, a minister, a rabbi. I could tell you this, I was never actually in a war killing people. And that's the only reason why I am at where I am right now. Karma is a real word. Buddha talked about karma. One smart word he did mention. John Lennon wrote instant karma, another smart person. All right. It's real, and it's what keeps you reincarnating back into this reality. If you have karma, you're not going to get into heaven and stay there. You're not going to go into the higher worlds either. Karma has to be paid in full before you can leave the lower realm, which is the astral plane and the physical world. After the astral plane, everything multiplies 1,000 times better. All the horrible things that exist here do not exist there. All right. All the abuse, drugs, and hate, and lying, cheating, stealing, killing, and all those things do not exist in the higher realms. You don't get there if they're part of the reality that you're within or in. All right. Soul, which is what you are inside this defective, destroying, decaying body, is what you will always be. All right. And when we talk about, oh, we're eternal, people say that, oh, I'm eternal, I'm eternal. If you're not aware of any other things that you did when you were so eternal, what good is it? Say you're God. Say you're God. Can you do anything God can do? You know, it's easy to say things, but to prove them to yourself even is very hard. I spent my whole life proving everything that I talk about. I'm on my 5th book, which should be coming out next month. My first book was How to See God. I studied many religions. I was in one for about 20 years, which was the most important one I was in, because it was the only one that actually worked on telling you how to get out of your body. Which is, there's only 2 things you need to learn in this lifetime. 2. One is that your soul, and 2, how you can get out of the physical body. Sure, you can do drugs and feel you're out of your body and all those kind of things, but I mean, really, step out of the body. Because without that, the disciples would have never been able to see Jesus. All right? And I'll get into that a little bit later. But Jesus never, ever said he was God. And when he said that in the Bible, there's one sentence, oh, my Father and I are one. Well, that didn't mean he said, I am God. He was one with his Father. He listened and felt and did what he knew he was supposed to in some levels. Jesus did not say to, God did not say to Jesus, you have to die. But for Jesus to prove what he was teaching, he had to. You can't prove to a person about reincarnation and rebirth without showing them some kind of proof. Words just mean words. In those days, they didn't have many words to use to exaggerate or fill in or make details about that. So when he said a lot of things simple because man in those days was simple-minded. Most of them were farmers, fishermen, shoemakers. What did they know about anything else? Nothing. Love and relationships, women were always not respected as something equal. Ever. Something you really need to realize. And women should learn a lot about that a long time ago, and they didn't. All right, when Jesus came, did he free women from being slaves? No. He showed what love could be between a woman and a man. And was it completely accepted? Parts of it. Man believes and women believe the idea of love, but how many fulfill and stay within the total definition of what it truly means? Then again, how many people know the definition of love? Not a man's written definition of love, because it's not even partly true or even closely to the real truth of what it really is. If I want to get into that later, I might. All right, everything that was written in the Bible was written by man. Jesus wasn't writing stories and writing everything down and handing it to people and things like that. And what man wrote down was twisted or unknown. When they heard a parable, they had to try to figure it out and write what they thought it was, or try to rename and rewrite the parable. But you know the old saying, you get 100 people in a room and pass it around the circle, it will never come back the way it started. Ever. How's that? Why is that? Because man's ego is always in place of where soul itself can actually function. So it takes away 90% of what we should be doing, why we're doing what we're doing, and why we're not doing what we should be doing. Now, you've been programmed to believe meditation's the answer. It's only the starting point of learning how to travel in soul body, getting out of the body. Just blocking out everything does not put you in a place where you can learn anything. Like a lama would go up into a cave for 40 years. You'd think they came out spiritual, more spiritual than when they went in. They don't even know how society is running and functioning anymore. But the idea is, while you're here, what do you think you're supposed to learn? How to have children, how to buy a house, how to buy a car, how to make money. And the only thing that's actually accepted every which way is how to make money as the most important thing. Not about the truth, not about God, not about death, not about reincarnation, not about anything really important, because you're only going to be here the maximum 125 years. And how many people do that? So now what? Now what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to get a job, a better job. I'm going to make more money. And what are you going to do with the money? Buy more things, cars and boats and planes. And what else do you do? Nothing. Now, people say they want to help mankind. How do you help mankind? How do you help starving people if you don't have money? But sadly, the people with all the money do not help the starving people. If they did, there would be nobody starving on the planet. All right? How come people don't realize that either? Jesus said this 3 times in the Bible alone, and he said it many times. It's easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than a rich person to get into heaven. Why would he say that? Think about it. Money corrupts the mind and creates a stronger ego. Period. No matter who you are, where you are. And it's not instant. Oh, I got $1 million in the mail. Now I'm an evil person. No, it takes time because money desires money. Doesn't desire love. Even though love, people that want love go to people with money. All right. It's a magnet. Oh, I love you so much. But when you die, I get all your money. Really? All right. Well, let's go past that because mankind has totally screwed everything up. Everything they make, everything they do, even the idea of a relationship. Relationships do not stay together. 60% break apart. And that's not a good number, especially if they even think they have a clue of what love means. All right. Nothing that Jesus ever said was a lie. Nothing he ever did was a lie. But few people on this planet, and there's 2.5 billion Christians that say they think they know Jesus, have no clue what he was teaching. And that's scary. 2.5 billion, not 2.5 million. Well, I read the Bible. I know who Jesus was, what he did, and what he taught. Joe Schmo could have said he was Superman and flew around the world and did a lot of moving stars and would you believe it if somebody wrote it in a book? Probably. All right. We believe stories written a long time ago. All the stories about the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Egyptians. Then we go further back to Sumerian tablets, the Atlanteans, and stuff like that. How many people know anything about it for real other than what they read? And then it takes one person, Zachariah Sitchin, to create this whole ridiculous story about the Anunnaki and who is God and played God and how they created us. No, it's all lies. The Anunnaki aren't going to come here and save us, and they're not going to come here and destroy us. There's many other races here doing that, which are much more powerful. But I'm not going to get into that in detail, which I could, but I'm not. I'm trying to keep it more on a level of what today is and what it's going to become tomorrow. All right. Jesus did not come to this planet and go out and do his teachings to save your sorry ass, to protect you from everything happening on this planet. Jesus didn't come to do that, people. You can say it all you want. There's not one shred of proof in anything that ever happened that that's what Jesus came here for. Let's start with a family, a Christian family. They go to church every Sunday. Then Monday, the father was driving the child to school and had a car accident and the child died. You think God was saying, oh, I'm going to protect that child? I'm going to protect them? You think God was really caring what was going to happen to them in the car? All right. You go out, a tree falls on you, or something really crazy and bizarre. Why didn't God tell you not to go there? Stop you. If God is that what you believe God to be, which it isn't. People, wake up. You live in a delusion and an imaginary world, an illusionary world of things that aren't really important. And you make them all important. I'm going to save somebody. There was a homeless person. I'm going to feed him a hot dog today. Really? Did that save him? Is it going to save him? Is it going to change what he thinks about God, people, or anything else? Sure, you can get compassionate things from people going out of their way to help you build a home, buy a car, things like that. And you put all your energy, oh, I love that person. They're so incredible and everything else. But does that teach you about God? If that was what God wanted, there would be no rapists on this planet, no killers, no stealing, no lying, which it was in Atlantis. We had 32 psychic abilities in Atlantis. All the words we barely use now, levitation, telepathy, and all those kind of words. Well, I got it. I can use it. Yeah, you use it such a small percentage of what you could have if you truly had it. Jesus. Well, I'll get to that a little bit later. All right. The idea that Jesus' own people helped kill him. All right. Now, why would people want to kill a person like Jesus? Think about it. Why would his own people turn against him? Because they wanted a miracle that they didn't get. Well, if he gives you a miracle, oh, I believe Jesus is real now. If he didn't give you one? And then again, what if he gave you a miracle for one person, yourself and not your child, your wife, your husband? Well, he's not real. He didn't do it for my wife. He didn't do it for my kid. You got twisted brains going on of people that have programmed ideas and assume this is supposed to be this and that's supposed to be that. Do any of them really think anything out? Why would God do what it does? Because they don't know God. God is not a loving being, people. All right, simple. Put yourself as a loving being. You are God. Would you have children getting killed, dying at birth, and being raped, and all those other words? Would you? Would you allow that? If you said you were a loving God? Well, they gotta what? Learn not to do that? Well, the word is free will. I'm not talking about Jefferson creating free speech and all that, but free will. Now, when you come down to this world for the first time, is when you create or remove most of your karma. When you get into a place that's beautiful, oh wow, this is great. Now let's start a fire and you burn the place down. All right. See, you're unaware of things. And Jesus said you're not accountable for things you don't know. But when you do know them, you are accountable for it. But Moses wrote 63 laws. 10 commandments were not enough. Now, in the Bible, it says Jesus agreed with Moses. He did not. It's a lie. Moses talked about horrible things. Your eyes deceive you, pluck them out. Your voice, cut your tongue out. I mean, all these things. All right. It wasn't about forgiveness. Jesus said, no, that's not where it's at. We don't maim ourselves. Everybody be walking around with no heads, no hands, no arms, no mouth, no eyes, because of what they did in their lifetimes. 63 laws. He hated nudity at every level. You were outcast if you saw your daughter naked, you outcast if you saw your child, this, that, everything. Read his laws. They're ridiculous. No person could live by them. Now, the Hasidic Jews claim they do. I can say that's a lie, too. Nobody could live by those 63 laws. He claims what you could eat, what you can't eat. Couldn't eat shellfish, hoofed animals, and anything that crawls on its stomach. All those kind of things. Read his laws. Jesus didn't agree with them. Jesus wasn't here to torture us and put us in pain and suffering. He was here to free us from that. Free us from hell. Why did he face Satan? Satan, not Lucifer, people, for the time that he did. And he couldn't take Satan out, could he? And Jesus is still here. Jesus is not here anymore. Satan is. Satan runs most of the planet right now, whether you know that or not. He runs the aliens. He runs everything in this realm. Because everybody likes the darkness over the light. Oh no, I live in the light. Don't follow the light because it's a lie. You don't know what the light is, so how can you follow it? Oh, I see a beam coming down. Oh, really? Aliens could shoot a beam down. They do. Are you going to follow it? Well, something I was taught by a Tibetan master was when you listen to music, ride the frequency because it comes from somewhere. And it can take you much further than just listening to the music or than what your mind's trying to perceive from it. But people don't want the truth. They rather follow the programming in this reality. Food tastes good. I love food. I love sugar and salt, the most horrible things you should be putting in your body. But I live on them. I'm 71. I didn't want to live this long. All right. Okay, Jesus means nothing to a lot of people. Does that mean they're bad? But it means they're unaware. The people that follow Buddhism can only go to the astral plane. Oneness is only on the astral plane, and it's going into the light and sound. But you don't do anything when you're in it. Why would you want to be there? If you want to go there to relax for a couple of years or centuries, whatever, in your mind, okay. But if you want to move forward, it's not the place to go. You want to be something, it's still not the place to go. And planet Earth is not the place to be something. A president, governor, mayor, head of a company. You're a nobody. You're a grain of sand in the beach of the oceans around the planet. No better. Well, I got a corporation. I control hundreds of people. I abuse hundreds of people. So, and the whole idea, who's better than who? What color is better than what color? It's pathetic, people. If you know anything about truth, you wouldn't be there. All right? People that killed Jesus, you know the karma they created? The people around Jesus that followed Jesus and helped kill them, what kind of karma they created? Karma, the word that not in the Bible. All right? What you do, you shall reap is basically the same, really. But they didn't use the word karma. Hinduism created the word karma. All right? What do you follow? Well, I follow Jesus. To where? To what? To do what? Love thy neighbor. How many neighbors do you love? Every one of them? Forgive everybody that beat you up, attacked you, robbed your house, burnt your house down. Love them all? Forgive them all? And when somebody asks you for something, you give it to them? Really? How many people do things like that? And why would you want to? If you gave away to everybody that asked you for something, you would have nothing. Jesus had nothing. And he gave away more than anybody else on this planet ever did. How's that? People, you follow lies. Accept them. How is that? Let me just put one word in here. All right. You know, I know people don't want the truth. How many people want to know that what they're living is a lie? Their life's a lie. What they do is a lie. Everything about it is a lie. Oh, I love my children. I love my pets. I love swimming. I love skiing. I love everything. Yeah. Do you love God? How could you love something you don't know? You can't. People, you know, we go on in life believing what we're programmed to accept and believe. Mostly from other people, mostly from storytellers and writers. How many people gave you good help to move forward spiritually? Do you have a clue what the word spiritual means? All these people, Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, Dalai Lama, the Pope, even Oprah, we're spiritual. And what does that mean? You can't be a billionaire and a millionaire and be spiritual. You cannot be. How could you be rich and know children are starving in your own neighborhood, being abused in your own neighborhood, and say, I'm rich, I got a boat, I got a car, I got millions of properties? Really? Jesus was dead set on that. But are you? You don't want to hear it. I've heard it to Musk maybe 10 times already. All right? People that are rich think that if they donate 10 computers this year, they did good. Or they do this. You know, people that donate usually do it for a tax write-off. subconsciously, maybe not real. I'm going to do it for a tax write-off. No, I'm going to help these people. When people give money to Trump, how perverted, twisted is a person's mind to donate that kind of money to a person rather than children starving? What kind of sick world are you living in and think you're in a heaven, in a good world, and it's beautiful and it's moving forward? Never has Earth moved forward since Atlantis was destroyed. Never. We have never created something spiritual. Not a rocket, spaceship, submarine. None of those things are spiritual. Within 2 years, you're going to have flying planes, car planes. Really? Who's going to be flying them? Drunks, drug addicts? And then what? Crashing into people's houses? Oh, I forgot to put gas in the car. Really? We live in a world that thinks technology is the most important word, and science is second to that. Science doesn't give us anything important ever. We create disease. We don't get rid of them. Well, basically, we cure one disease, we create 3 more. And it's always been like that. I mean, hepatitis 3 cost $70,000 to get rid of it. Really? How come? How come so much money? Who's getting that money? People, you're a victim. You're a slave. Not just the women, men are slaves too. Programmed reality that you're living in is based on the rich people controlling the poor people. Do you understand that? The Constitution was created by rich people controlling poor people. They hated Native people, and they were not part of the Constitution, and they killed 50 million of them. All right? So, coming from a so-called Constitution with a right to carry a gun, in those days you had a right to carry a gun to shoot Native people because you got paid for a man, woman, and a child's scalp. And it was the white people that did it, the Spanish people that did it, not the Native people. Native people cut fingers off. All right, but again, what did they do with the scalp? Sell them. And it proved that a Native person was killed. And that's all they cared about. Thomas Jefferson, the 3rd president, was probably the biggest Native American killer, and it's not even talked about. He rode, of course, the whole southern part of the United States, killing everybody he could. So, we talk about where we are. What are we creating that's spiritual? There's 2,000 religions on the planet now. And only 2 that I know out of that even talk about soul and getting into the astral plane and getting out of the body and all that. Most Christians have no clue. They don't understand reincarnation. They don't understand death. Everybody believes they're going to meet their family. Why is that? Why should we live on this planet in hell to go to another planet and live with family from hell? Now, here's something people have no clue about either. You reincarnate many, many times. Many families and things, and you were this, you were that, in multiple lifetimes. So when you die, why would you choose to be with the last one you were with? How about the first person that you truly loved in your first lifetime? Oh, I forgot. I don't know them. Really, soul does. And why do you think we're programmed to believe this? Because it's the mind, not soul, that's aware. Soul can become aware of all the things it did and was and are. Children are starting to wake up a little more because they're given a lot more freedom than when we were little. We were taught about the boogeyman, and that's about it. And any God. We were told Superman's not real, Santa Claus is not real, the Easter Bunny's not real, but God is real. All right, and that's the way we're programmed when we're little. What words are you taught with when you first start speaking? God, life, love, goo goo, gaga. Say gaga. What? What are you telling your child to say? We start off backwards and move further backwards than forward. All right. Jesus didn't come here to save your sorry ass. No. All right. I just want to go a little bit further down the road here. Let me just do something here. All right. I'm trying to figure out the best way to go with this. I mean, I already told you. Jesus was the most important being to come to this planet for a reason. All right. He was teaching about who we are, and what's forgotten is what God is, not what it isn't. I do many shows on God, what it is and what it isn't. And I'll tell you a simple thing to do. Get out a paper and pencil. Left put God is, on the right, God isn't. You could say everything for word, meaning, oh, God's a tree, God's a cat, God's a bird, God's a rabbit. But you can't say God is everything. God is not everything. God's not your sick, perverted, twisted mind. All right? Well, do it. Write a list of things God is. I bet you can't name too many things God is not. Jesus always said it's not what you put in your body, it's what comes out. What comes out of our body? Nothing but garbage. Even what we talk about is usually garbage. All right. This world is under Satan, and Satan likes to keep people here. So when they say Satan's evil and he'll condemn you, I mean, everybody heard of Dante's Inferno, and he talks about the 6 levels of hell. This is hell, number 1 only. All right, the levels of hell. You can freeze to death here. You can burn to death here. You can be squished to death. You can be diseased to death, tortured to death, and every other word. There's multiple levels of death here. So it's not like when you go to hell, you got to suffer these things for eternity. Soul's eternal. But in the lower realm, it means eternal means you either get stuck in the astral plane or you reincarnate. Hopefully, when you become an aware being, you get past the astral plane. And then you can grow greatly and become who and what you are. The other thing is that most people might not like, in the higher realms, you're no longer male or female. All right? It's not sexual at all. The astral plane, you're still letting go of that. But you can eat when you want. You don't have to eat if you don't want. You could fly if you want. You could walk if you want. It's so different. And when people go from here to there, they could be happy. And they would stay there forever. Because they still know better than that. And the reason what I will say to you, the easiest to become spiritually aware is here on planet Earth now. When you go to the astral plane, you have so much freedom and can do so many things. You're not going to be thinking about, oh, what's better than this? Because at that point, your mind's still locked into the idea everything's cool, everything's great, you got everything. You don't. You can't go to other realms. You can't go to multiple universes and everything else without your body, your physical body anymore. And you're not a male or female. You're a light being. All right. The laws of Jesus are pretty simple. The laws of Moses were pretty complicated. If you look at them and break them down, and that Moses has only wrote half of each law down, like when he says, honor thy mother and father. Well, they have to honor their children as well. It's a two-way deal. Everything was a two-way deal. All right? Jesus never mentioned love in the Ten Commandments. Moses never mentioned love. Jesus did a lot. All right? Love did not exist until Jesus came here. The word, not the actual meaning of what it really is, because very few people know that. But when Jesus spoke about love, you have to understand what he was truly speaking about. Oh, love your children, love your cat, love your dog, love your plants. No. There's one thing that you have to love beyond and all things. And if you don't know what that is, you got no place to go. All right, it's called God. If you believe in alien gods or deities, they're real. But their mission, their goal is not to let you go anywhere either. Just as Satan is. Keep you in this hell world. Use you. Aliens use bodies and people for a lot of things. Food, semen, ovaries, not for love, not for compassion, not for our brains. I'm going to tell you something that most people have no clue about either. Tesla worked with an alien race. So did Einstein, but his stuff was twisted. Aliens didn't give him the right information. He said you can't go backwards and forwards in time, which we can and we do. Tesla proved everything he said, created the devices and had them all copyrighted, patented, 200 inventions, 50 of the most deadliest weapons on the planet. He didn't go to school and learn that. Do you believe that, really? What school is that? We all should go to it. But no, he was shown. He was working on a doomsday machine. He created an earthquake machine. He created the HARP system. He created time travel. Oh, he was a real smart person. No, he wasn't. Just a person working with alien races. I can't tell you what race it is because I do not know. But it was an alien race. In his own personal notes, he wrote it. All right. I can tell you the most important UFO event happened where Tesla was working with DuPont in New Jersey. Nobody in the UFO world talks about it either. Nobody talks about the second most important thing, which was Phil Snyder's story. And there's 3 more after that, but nobody talks about them. They talk about, oh, it's a Tic Tac. No, it's a real UFO. That's a real UFO. They can't talk about the aliens driving because they don't know. They don't even believe what really went down. The government can't talk about it either. And that's all they're doing is blaming the government and everything else. Where's God fit into that picture? Nowhere. Nobody focuses on God ever. If you go into meditation day and night, if you're a Buddhist, you're not going to be focusing on God either. So where's God in all these pictures being taken out of everything they can possibly take it out of? And who's to blame for that? The dark side. All right. This is my mottos, which I stand by. My first motto is God first, beyond all things, period. Nothing can override that. All right. Then I added, okay, it's better to stand with God and be judged by people than stand with people and be judged by God. When you do that, you become part of society. You go to war, you kill people, you do all the things that man, perverted, twisted thinking does. It's all right to abuse a woman. It's all right to do this. It's all right. And all the laws were created by 90%, 99% were created by men. I put my book out for women only. Sorry. How to adjust and change your reality to face what you need to in this reality. How to deal with perverted, twisted men. Look at when Jesus was alive. All the men around him, all the men everywhere, the churches, the rabbi, the priests, the temples. What were they thinking about controlling the people? It was never about helping them understand God, because they had no God. And statues were never considered gods, really. I mean, in their mind it was. That's why the 10 Commandments say no statues of any kind, of anything above or below. Because you can't have something that makes you believe something's a God. Because you don't know God, so how can you have anything that's going to make you think that you know God? Well, I had an experience. I was taken out of my car and I saw the light and blah, blah, blah. Okay. God created many things, people. One of them's called angels. In other words, guides, spiritual guides. They exist. And if a person never gets to work with them, they never learn much truth. What you do need to get into the higher realms, what you do need to become spiritual, and aware. But again, ask yourself what spiritual means. All these people claiming they are. Why? Because they meditate? Meditate on this. Meditation doesn't make you spiritual. Connecting with nothingness means just that. You are now nothing. Is that what you want? How about connecting with something called God? Not that God's going to come down and talk to you, because it doesn't. People that write conversation with God is daydreaming. And God's not going to come down here and say, oh, love everybody, because we're not in a place of love. God's not teaching us love. Not here. You love a girl for what, 10 years, and then you leave her? Have sex for 10 days, and then you leave her after you told her you loved her? Love is not what it is, really. There's only one definition of God. I mean, it's the one definition of God, is to know God. Then you truly understand what love is. Why God allows us to do these things. Because until we learn what we are, we can't do anything better. But you know, in lifetime after lifetime, you're still going to be born and still have to touch something hot to know that you can get burned. Every lifetime you come back, it's the same thing. You're not even aware enough not to do that. But you're aware to ride a horse or something simple, because it stimulated your mind in those days when you were doing horseback riding. Oh, I can ride a horse, and you get on a horse and ride it. Or I can swim, you jump in the water and start swimming. But there's a flame there. Oh, what's that? Let me touch and find out. See, you learn things that you want to learn. Absolutely nothing important. Nothing about God. Jesus came here, one simple reason, to teach a person how to find God. Not how to find fish and life and cures, but how to find God. I can go into a lot of stories about that's not in the Bible, because the Bible doesn't write much about anything, because those people at that time frame had no clue. They didn't believe what he was teaching. They didn't understand death. Oh, it's no longer there, it's burnt up and it's gone. That's that Buddhism. They burn the body up, and then they find a crystal, and they keep the crystal as important. You know, soul moves on, no matter what. Whether it's to a new reincarnation, or if it's even slightly aware, it gets to stay on the astral plane. Aliens do not. They can't go past the astral plane, and they all stay here. Because they like playing God, like playing with people. All right, never mind how many races they slaughtered. And people, Stephen Greer goes on about the good aliens, they're all good. No, they're not, they never were. The world, if it was a good place, Atlantis would be alive and well right now. We didn't need spaceships, we didn't need anything. The light of God, and not the sun, the light of God can keep you alive. It can feed you, it can do a lot of things. But to do what? To raise you slowly, little by little, closer to what and who you truly are as a soul. And once you attain that, you no longer need the body. In Atlantis, there were 9 races. All of them are called races of beings, all called human. All right. As time went on, 5 races left. They left their bodies and left. 4 races stayed: black, yellow, red, and white. They didn't attain awareness. And then they were reprogrammed to kill. They weren't made by the Anunnaki, but they were reprogrammed by them. And Satan controls your subconscious, so it was deep, horrible effects happened to humans. Oh man, I am so itchy right now. All right. Hinduism was the first religion. And basically, they followed deities. Deities are real. I work with 3 different deities. They're in the lower realms. They don't dwell up in the higher worlds where God dwells, or the highest world where God dwells. They dwell in the lower worlds. The first 3. One deity is above all the other deities, and that deity takes on a female-looking body and stays on the fifth plane. So when people say God is a female, they're close to that part of it, but that's not the highest God. It's an entity within herself that has the ability to rule over the lower realms. Because she deserved it and attained that. The deities on the astral plane, there's three major ones. One of them is Satnam. One of them is Jehovah. And guess what? Lucifer is one of them. They all determine who can go further. And it's not like you get a password or a special number to give them to get past them. You can't get it from anybody else. You can only get it from soul when it vibrates at a higher level of vibration. And you can do all kinds of exercise, everything you want. The only thing that changes that is your understanding of God. Nothing else you do in this lifetime is going to help you move forward at a spiritual point or a spiritual level. You could study all the books in the world and you could say you're spiritual, but can you talk about God? What's God look like? How big is God? Where does it dwell? What does it really think, feel? What does it really look like? All right? And I will tell you this, when you start to unfold and move into the spiritual realms, your angel or your guide will take you close to God. When you truly experience God, you now know what God is. You get to do that 3 times before you get to leave this reality and go into the realm that you deserve. This is what you do with that after you attain it. All right? I do everything I can. I mean, I'm on my 5th book and everything else. But, people don't want to read anything that's not pertaining to what they believe. Otherwise, it's a story. It's fictional. It's not really important. All right? Let me get this guy. Don't run away. I'm getting you. I'm not going to let you go. Look what I got. I got a little munchkin. Oh, calm down, Mr. Munchkin Head. Relax. I'm keeping you prisoner. You're going to be on my show with me. Hey, calm down. Look over there. Hey. I know he doesn't want to stay. So we have to realize where we're going to go, what we're going to do, how we're going to get there, and why. All those things are important. Not what school I'm going to go to. College isn't going to teach you anything important except how to make money. And doctors help people here and there, a little bit here and there, but an operation doesn't make a person better, usually. It helps him. And death will come no matter who you go to, what you do, no matter what psychic you talk to, what spiritualist you hang out with. Temporary healings come from psychics. And in Revelation, John, who wrote Revelations, talks about false prophets. And he said the world will be filled with false prophets. And that's people claiming to be God, claiming to be a healer. Well, I can heal you. If you can heal me, heal the world. All right? Jesus only healed the people that wanted to believe in the truth. You don't want to heal people that don't believe in it because they don't deserve to be. Oh, no. The laws of spiritualism is so different than the laws of reality that man created. All right. I'm going to go into one thing before I switch over topics, but this planet has how many races? A lot of races on it. All right. And most of them are prejudiced against each other race and tribe. Well, in the United States, there was one true tribe called the Hopi race. They were the original root race in the United States, what was always the United States, even though it wasn't called that, before anybody else. 500 tribes came into the United States, tribal people, not white people, and English, Russian, Chinese, and all that. Talking about tribal people were here. And the difference between them is the Hopi people are the only true tribe that has a DNA that no other tribe on this planet has. They originally lived inside the earth. You don't have to believe that either. They created light with their own third eye. Life was different for them, but they were told to come out to meet people. The white race. Don't ask me why. Their God was not God itself. Sorry, but they had a God that they listened to. They came out, and the white people tried to make them fight with the Apache people, and it was a horrible game, but it was never about a real God. So, where do you want to fit into this whole picture? You want to find out where you should be going, what you should be doing, how you should be doing it, what can you do to change to make that really happen? It's not really that complicated. Just got to let go of all the old ideas you have, all the programmed ideas you have, and open up to something new. Not even me, just something new that will allow your consciousness to expand. All right, and then when that happens, soul is free. When you go into meditation, you're locking the soul into the body. And there's steps that you do to release the body from the soul from the body. And that's the things you need to learn. And very few people teach it. There's two religions out there, Shab Yoga and Ekankar. But they also have false things within it. No matter how good it is, there's always something bad within inside it. Well, they both have something really bad inside the truth that it has. All right, the truth in Ekankar, their master claims to be that all that there is, God. All right, Shab Yoga is the same thing, but they teach different things as well. One, you're supposed to tell everybody your experiences, and the other one, you can't tell nobody your experiences. It's the same thing when Muhammad met with Gabriel, and how did he know who it was? His brother told him. You're working with a deity, a person, an entity in an inner world, light world, whatever, and you don't ask it who it is, what it is. Hi, how are you? Okay, nice knowing you. Bye. And then you come back, and your brother goes, "Oh, that was a deity or an angel or whatever." How would he know? Is he inside your dream world, your experience, or whatever? When they said Gabriel's one angel. And funny, the Bible only mentions nine angels through the whole Bible. In Revelations, it says there's hundreds of them. So why do people always pick the top three? Just like when we say most spiritual people, Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, Dalai Lama, and the Pope. 4 people. All right. Top angels, Gabriel, Michael. All right. How many people? There's 9, and their names are very similar. Why doesn't anybody pick any of the other ones? And then you got these other people channeling aliens. Like an alien's going to help you? Help you what? Get down if you're going to play. So, we're at a point where time's running out. I'm not going to go into the whole negative side of government and what's happening, what's going to happen. But it's bad. And we got 7 years. So what are you willing to do in the next 7 years to help yourself become spiritual? Do you care? Do you care what today really is? What does the birth of Jesus really mean? Going out buying gifts and giving is the most important thing. And a lot of paths teach you giving is the best thing you can do. Native teachings, it's, they always say Indian giver. And that mankind has twisted it to mean the opposite of what it means. White man said Indian given means they give it to you and they take it back. The true meaning of what Indian given means, when a native person gets a gift, they have to give the person a better gift back. And that's the definition of Indian given. Really? The same as when they call the native woman a squaw. It's a bad word. Men that hated native people called them demons, and it made them feel okay to kill them. All right. Jesus was here for not a very long time. And he touched a lot of people in some ways, but it was twisted by man's own perverted thoughts and ideas. If Jesus was allowed to stay a longer time, much longer time, I'm sure people might understand a lot more of what he was teaching. And when he was killed, his wife, Mary Magdalene, had to finish his teachings. Sorry, this neighborhood's loaded with dogs every which way. It's crazy. We get tons of roosters and chickens. It's noisy. But here's the thing. Mary Magdalene was the most important woman in all of history, as Jesus was a man. Mary Magdalene had 32 psychic abilities or spiritual abilities that Jesus had. And the only way you get them is going through ascension, which is the most abused word in the world today because all these so-called spirituals says, I went through ascension. No, you did not. Not one person on planet Earth can do any of the psychic abilities 100% or even close to 20%. All right? Or like even in the UFO world, Caroline Corey goes, I can levitate a piece of paper. If you could levitate a piece of paper, you can levitate a car. It's not going on the idea of how much it weighs. People, and she goes, I can change people's DNA. She's playing God when you try to do something like that. Nobody has the right to interfere in somebody else's life or reality unless they're asked into it. All right? I mean, how many people ask to come into your reality? Can I come into your space? Well, when you call a psychic up and say, come and do a reading for me, you're asking them to come into your space. But they can't take your karma away. Nope. Whether you believe that or not, they can make you think. Your mind is pretty creative and it can do a lot to the body. Make you sick, make you healthy. And when you convince your mind that something's happening, it'll do it. Or believe it for a while. Curing karma isn't done by the mind. And since you cause it with the physical body, you have to remove it through the physical body. They say, well, I rise above all my karma. I'm a spiritual being now. No, you're not. If you kill 10 people, that's multiple lifetimes. You're going to have to pay that back. It's not going to disappear because you said so. And God's not going to take it away. We're here to work out our karma, to work out our life, to understand we are a soul, and to move into that aspect of what we really are and become that. Not stay a slave to Satan or the dark side. Not to do evil things. Oh, doing one thing for something may seem good, but it could affect the reality of something else. Well, I don't want it to rain in Hawaii for the next 10 years. That could affect the planet greatly. When you do something and think you have the right to change reality, you're playing God. You have the right to change your reality, what you do, where you go, what you say, how you act. But you don't have the right to do that for anybody else. When somebody wants to become president, all that means their ego is bigger than they understand what God is. Mr. Trump's ego is probably one of the biggest ego persons on the planet. And that becomes called a dictator. And he will become one if he gets in, which is scary because he probably will. All right. When Jesus was teaching his disciples, he didn't finish teaching them everything or anything. So when he died, killed, they were all leaving. They didn't have anything to accept. Well, he said, we live forever, blah, 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 blah. But there was nothing proved to them. So Mary Magdalene said, I'm going to finish teaching you, and did. Taught them how to meet with Jesus again. Taught them the abilities that they started learning. And when they became the true disciples of Jesus, they were outcasts just like Jesus was. Luckily, Mary Magdalene escaped, and so did Thomas. Both of them had abilities. Thomas was one of Jesus's closest disciples next to Judas. If you want to talk about Judas or not, that's your choice. But He wasn't an evil person. He did what Jesus told him to do. Jesus knew he was the only disciple that would do anything he told him to do. Look at Peter denying Jesus many times, not just 3 times. He would have been killed so many times if he didn't deny Jesus. But, living on planet Earth versus going back to God, when Jesus said, give your life to God, you'll have eternal life, try to keep it, you'll lose it. Do you understand that sentence? You know what Jesus really meant by any aspect? When you go to war and kill somebody because somebody told you to, it's going against every law that God gives us. And we accept it. All right. This is what I'm doing for Sunday, tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to replay the show or do another one or not. But Jesus was born. I mean, you heard the story about the 3 wise men and things like that. Why were they called wise men? Because they knew where Jesus was born and went to him and brought him a gift. See, the ideas come from things that happen. Oh, giving gifts is the most important thing. Well, you give a gift to the most spiritual person on the planet. I don't know if people give gifts to every homeless person, poor person, or every drug addict on the street. All right. Women are still in bondage. Jesus talking about women. Jesus even talking about aliens. Would you read that anywhere? They didn't understand aliens in those days either. We don't understand it today. How would they understand it in those days? And then when they talk about ships, it was a chariot, because they didn't have a word for a spaceship. So, they were here. Jesus warned about them. They were everywhere, but they were taking people, killing people, and all that as well. No different now. But Jesus tried to free women. It wasn't like he was only teaching to men. He was teaching to women as well. And when the disciples saw Mary Magdalene become part of his 13, guess what? It bothered most of them for a while. Peter couldn't accept it at all. Now, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the New Testament, was created for a reason too. Not by Jesus. I'm bad with names, but you have Socrates, Plato, and people that dealt with Atlantis, dealt with Jesus, and everything else. But they decided what they can feed people to control them. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, 2 of them were Jesus' disciples. 2 of them were evangelist people. Do you know what an evangelist is? Look it up. One plagiarized what Peter was saying, and one plagiarized what Paul was saying. Paul never met with Jesus in the physical reality after he was killed. I mean, he didn't meet with him. So he was having visions. People accept his visions. Why? Think about it. One person had visions and we accept it. Why? If they pertain to Jesus, if I tell you I was with Jesus all my life, I was with him in his world where he teaches. Right? I was alive when he was alive. Mary Magdalene was my closest friend. She was a goddess of a temple, which that's proven only rather recently. But I was a goddess too, and we stayed together. I was with Mary Magdalene the whole month. Jesus was getting ready to be killed. I saw what he was teaching. I saw the way people reacted. It was horrible. Sure, when you see a miracle, wow. But what? You go to a magic show, see an incredible, he's a magician. Even in the UFO world, the guy said a magician was a spiritual alien. Man tries to make everything fit into his world, even though it doesn't. People, I'm not here to take away what you have, which is very little. All right? And I hate to say that. Am I egotistical? Not really. People will say I am. I only deal with the truth. The truth. And there is a truth always. Whether you want to accept it, find it, or hear it is a different story. But there's also accepting the truth at a certain level. Like when you drive a car and you speed, oh, I can get away with it today. You know the law says you can't speed, but you're still speeding. All right, when you go beyond the truth and say, well, I can get away with it, or I can do this, or I can do that. Nobody's going to find out. Nobody's going to. And we do that. Lying. How many people say the white lie, the blue lie, or whatever? Well, it's going to destroy her if I tell her the truth. Well, if this is something that bad and it could destroy a person, it probably should be brought out so that it could end the whole thing before it goes further. Sexual relationships and all that are so bad today. And then people not wanting to be in the body that they're in. There's reasons for that. And I didn't know what things, I have so much to talk about, but I was going to try to follow a guideline, which I try to do. But reincarnation is very hard on soul and the body when you come into a body. All right, you're a man in 10 lifetimes. You're born into a female body this lifetime. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? You don't know why you're feeling it. If you were never a woman in a lifetime and you become a woman in a lifetime, guess what? I know by my own experience. I gave birth in a lifetime. When you change sex in your reincarnations, it affects soul in a way because soul is still attached to things. And that's why it's still coming back. All right. The word is attachment. There's 4 other reasons, but that's one of the main ones. So when you come back, you're in a body you don't like. So, there's reasons for everything. When you don't find it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. God's world is created perfectly. We uncreate that perfectness to destroy it. People, let me see where I'm at. Part 2. All right, how much do I got to do? All right, I can probably do another show tomorrow if I'm up to it. Sorry, I'm just getting over a serious problem. I'm not going to talk about it. But I hope you got something out of today. Please pass this on to other people if you can, if you want to. If you don't, that's your choice. I wanted to get into the Knights of Templar and all that, but, too much information is not going to help you at one point. We all can only adapt or accept a certain amount, and then it's just overload. And I truly don't want to overload you, which a little information usually overloads a person. So all I can say is we're here for a reason. And we all are here for the same reason. That should make it simple. Well, I'm here to learn to be a doctor. I'm here to be a skier. I'm here to learn to be a football player. No, you're not. None of those things will help you become spiritual. Well, I'm a minister, a rabbi, a preacher. Oh, really? You think the Pope has a clue who God is? Who Jesus really was? And all he talks about, the same as the Dalai Lama, just got an award for People of the Year or whatever it was. What? Telling people we're all one consciousness? Do you want to be a part of a sick, perverted, twisted consciousness? You do, good for you. I don't. If that was true, I would say destroy me totally. Take me out of reality, take my soul and burn it up and never be anywhere. Because the reality is so twisted and sick. The toys we make are perverted, twisted, and sick. I'm not saying you can't get involved with things, which we do. But when it comes to hurting other people, you know how wrong and bad it is, how much karma it creates. Killing some person, or any of those things, really abusing a child. And most families, I'd say 99.9% of all families abuse their children somehow, some way. Even if it's just moving them from one city to another. taking them away from their family, their friends, whatever. Little things like that destroy a person. Telling your child he's bad, he's mentally sick, or hitting them on the head, which a lot of people used to do to children. Telling them they're ugly, telling them anything. It will stay with them for the rest of their life, never mind when they get abused. And the percentage is incredibly high, people. Nobody cares about Jesus. Nobody cares about God. They care about cheap thrills, sex, drugs, feelings. I mean, they'd rather watch sports than understand anything about God. It's easier. It feels better. I can drink and oh, really? Well, I gave you what I could today. All right, hope you got something out of it. My email address is hawksblood1. Okay, I'm going to put it in the chat room just in case you get in there. I mean, most people will not go in there, especially Christmas Eve. Okay, it's hawksblood1AOL.com. Please text me, email me if you have a question or want to ask a question about anything pertaining to spiritualism, aliens, God, death, reincarnation, near-death experiences, you name it. I've been there, done it, went through it. Whether they were good or bad at the time, it's all good now because I'm where I'm at right now. If none of it happened, I would probably still be trying to have a normal relationship, a normal marriage, and have children. And think that's the highest place we can go. But soul comes in here by itself and it leaves by itself. Everything you got that you think is yours is only temporary. Your animals, your family, your things you own, it's only temporary. Everything except you as soul. That doesn't change. All right, people. Peace, love, compassion, whatever you need in your life. Keep searching. Don't stop until you get it. Don't take the lies. Don't listen to it. Walk away from people that are negative in your mind. Because if they are, they probably are hurting you. And I can't tell you where to hang out, where not to hang out, what to drink, what to eat, and none of that. Hopefully you learn by your own experience what's good for you and what's not. I mean, some people like abuse. I mean, sexual things are going on hardcore now. And it's accepted as what I want, and it's good. But, you know, I went through those kind of things. I went through everything you could possibly imagine and learned the dark side versus the good side of everything. And it's usually both. So where you put your attention, where you put your life, where you put everything in your reality, it's up to you. But try to move forward, not backwards. And don't stay where you are at the same space because that doesn't help anything. Just prolongs you reincarnating over and over and over, doing nothing. All right, people. Tommy Hawksblood here, calling from the Big Island of Hawaii. If you disagree, that's your choice. If you didn't like it, you wouldn't be here. You probably hung up or got out of the show right away. But if you still are here or listen to the whole show, I give you credit. Most people get turned off by something they don't like. Pertaining to truth, not pertaining to, well, I like girls, so I'm going to watch men. No. I'm talking about the truth of what you are here for. All right. Till next time, Tommy Hawksblood, calling from the Big Island. I am a reverend. I was going to go into that whole thing full force and decided not to as well. But till next time. Next Tuesday, Tina will probably not be with me, but I will still do a UFO show if I can. But we'll see. We'll play the game. I might do another show tomorrow. Love, light, truth. Again,